seconds early so that we can do like the rundown and make sure that we're live. Like the rundown and make sure that we're live. Like the rundown and make sure that we're live. Rundown and make sure that. Let's get rid of that. Welcome to Kalari's Craft and Chat. I am your host, Kalari GXC, and today we have a very special print that we will be printing as we talk about the issues. It's Chopper. I'll have the art reference up in just a bit, and we are going to get Chopper prepared as I open with something that I intend to sometimes do when I do these crafts and chats, because I feel like I can incorporate talks about things that Axiom Wolf and I watch together when I'm doing these, especially when they have such real world parallels. So as you see, the title of this craft and chat is PeaceMaker, Planet X, and the parallels of today's American society. And the whole reason I even wanted to bring this up was Friday night after we got finished with the original craft and chat. Sorry, I'm going to get these this painter's tape around Chopper so that there's not too much cross bleed with the colors. So just bear with me just for a little bit while I get him prepped. But we were watching PeaceMaker, which is a HBO Max production, DC property by James Gunn, and I've been a big fan since season 1. So this is definitely not in any way to down on the show or James Gunn or any of that. Oh, drop Chopper. Give me just a second here to get him up. I should get like a technical difficulties flash screen. And don't worry, I like this guy. He's fine. There we go. But no glue gun this time. Until we reconfigure this office, it is going to be touch and go when it comes to fall mishaps. Hopefully I can get it where it's little and few and far between. I don't think I'm going to tape all his helmet, just key parts that could get different paints on it, because I definitely got to get his antlers done and other parts that might, cross over. So we want to definitely protect that as best we can. Either way, let me get back to what I was talking about while I continue to do this triage on one of my favorite One Piece characters. And speaking of One Piece characters, I've got some big stuff planned for Halloween, including Dan and One Piece characters that have ghostly things. I'm pretty sure anybody who's a fan will know what I'm getting at when it comes to that. Okay, put this tape to the side. I know Chopper looks like a zombie right now with all this tape across him, but I'm promising you he's going to be cute when I get it finished. But getting back to what I was saying, Friday night, Axiom Wolf and I watched PeaceMaker. And it was a hard episode. Not the whole episode, there were plenty of funny moments, pretty much thanks to Adrian. He made me laugh throughout the whole thing, including, having a hidden bunker. I don't want to give too many spoilers if some people are weak behind. But meeting the doppelganger, and just, that was a highlight. That made me laugh. But we went from that to a very more serious scene. And when I say watching that scene really pushed a lot of the emotions I've been feeling lately about this current climate in our country over the boiling point, I am not exaggerating. Even when I talked about it slightly with guildmates on Sunday, you can sense who had an understanding of what I was saying and who wanted to act like everything was fine. And like I said, I get it. My friends come from all walks of life. I don't have many conservative friends left because the last few years I've made a clear stance and how I feel about treating people and how I feel about people who want to push us towards oppression. So the few that can say that they are still my friends and still have those leans are very minuscule. So I bit my tongue, allowed my guildmate to express his view that everything was going to be okay, but I really don't think he understood where I was coming from, and I'm not shocked. A lot of people don't get why things don't feel right for people like me, and not even people who directly look or like me. Anybody who's considered a marginalized group right now, we are living in a time where we are literally being deemed enemies by our sitting president. He wants to do things that I'm going to get into with video proof and everything else to show the parallels. But without giving too much spoilers, this scene alone with a man yelling, "The black!" and then having a mob of angry white people chasing a lone black woman figure was enough for me to go, I don't want to see stuff like this. I get that James Gunn was probably having his pulse on what's going on and wanted to get a visceral reaction. And while there are people like me and people who actually understand the current climate that will fully get it, there are still other people, the same people who needed Watchmen to teach them about the Tulsa race riot. It was actually a massacre. That they'll watch this, they'll ingest it, and they still don't get how they enable us. Whether they are flag waving MAGA martyrs, which we're going to talk about today, or whether they are legitimately fence sitters who think no matter what happens, as long as they don't show a stance, either way, they'll be okay. They're the same people that smile on their face. They'll put BLM in their titles on social media. They'll say, "We stand with you, black women," but their voting record shows obviously that's not the truth. Obviously, that's not the case. And it is because of their constant fence and that we are in this current dangerous climate for anybody who's considered marginalized. And while I love PeaceMaker, I love the characters, especially Addie, especially given her history and who she's the daughter of and her striving to be better. You can't get a better story than a bunch of misfits coming together and just trying to change the system. But to see the system so broken, to see an America X, to see a flag unfurled with a symbol that is banned in Germany, to watch a character literally be chased by a lynch mob, that's a lot to sit through. And I don't care if you don't have ancestry directly related to people who have been. You don't have streets named after a relative who got lynched for voting. If you have a shred of decency or empathy in your body, you will see a sight like that. You will see a sight of angry white people trying to chase down and potentially harm, if not outright destroy, a black woman and feel more than just, I don't even want to say guilt, because that's what the haters want you to believe, that this is just to guilt trip you for being white. No, this is to show you that you are human, that you have a shred of empathy and humanity for shit like this not going down in our country. But instead, we have so many people that turn a blind eye, that don't want to seem too woke, that will allow stuff like this. And I pray that after this crafting chat, that you see how dangerous that mindset is. Because we are literally in danger. And it shouldn't take a TV show on HBO to let people know just how dangerous it is going to be in our country if we don't pay attention. But I didn't come here just to preach, though I am going to talk about what happened in Michigan too. I'm going to get this art reference up so that you can see the adorable chopper that we are going to be painted today. But when I say stuff like this shouldn't shock people, but open their eyes to how dangerous the current climate in our country is, I am not being hyperbolic. I am not trying to be, alarmist. I want people to understand the danger we have let into our country, and hopefully we can weather out and get away from this. But we currently have somebody who wants to declare a large majority of us his enemy and will do any means to oppress, harm, and eradicate us if he can. But let's get with this because Tabitha Speaks did a great short about what happened in Michigan. For those of you who don't know, this weekend on Sunday, we had a violent attack on the Mormon church. Yes, we have those here. We have all kinds of churches here in Michigan. But this Mormon church was going through their usual Sunday, and this violent MAGA martyr, that's what I'm going to start calling them from now on, decided they were going to be the targets. Let's get this rolling while I get ready to start painting Chopper, because I think people need to hear and see what all is going on before you start pointing fingers at who's doing what. Let's pick the proper brush. Yep, this flat one will work. And we're going to start on Chopper's.
He looks just as I expected him to look.
She's still not.
He's wearing,
or is she?
The gear that I expected him to wear.
I don't know if the sound is slow. She's not coming up as much.
Yep, no shock here.
There we go. Yeah, I know what happened. My headphones are down low. Sorry, y'all. Just look at the shirt he's wearing.
He looks just as I expected him to look.
Yep.
He's wearing the gear that I expected him to wear.
Exactly.
Yep, no shock here.
None whatsoever. And that was Tabitha Speaks. And what's so important about shorts like this, besides it reaching a large audience so that people can clearly see that it is not liberals, despite what Trump likes to yell, that are doing these violent acts. This man posed happily with his family with a Trump 2020 shirt. I guarantee you, even though millions died from a preventable pandemic under Trump, even though there were plenty of people who were not satisfied with his first term, he wasn't one of those people. But he decided for the cause, and I'm going to get to the cause in just a moment for those who go, well, what's the cause? For their cause of civil unrest and civil discourse to lead to a literal violent backlash, a clash of cultures, of different ethnic groups, so that they can justify taking over. Some people joke, oh, that sounds like something out of A Handmaid's Tale or one of those dystopian novels. I didn't want to believe it either. But I didn't want to believe the results on November 6th, 2024 either. But here we are. And a lot of us, instead of getting mad, we were upset. But instead of letting it destroy us, we went in to protect our peace mode. And because we went in to protect our peace mode, these idiots said, okay, plan B. Let's get a bunch of people who are for our cause to start trouble. And they're doing things like assassinating fellow bigots, turning them into potential martyrs. They're attacking churches and detention centers. But if you listen to the goofs in the White House, you'll hear them say, oh, it's the liberals, it's the leftists, it's the radical agenda, it's Antifa. No, it's people that look like this man. It's people who do things like that in the name of throwing us into a conflict that will not only divide our country, but destabilize and destroy our country. But he's far from the only one. Let me get to this news article so that you can see the devastation of what happened in this church attack in Grand Blanc.
Jordan, thank you. This morning, we continue to follow the latest on the deadly attack of a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc.
4 people were killed and 8 others were hurt. Now investigators are sharing more details about the suspect. He's been identified as 40-year-old Thomas Jacob Sanford. Investigators say he lived in nearby Burton, Michigan. He was a Marine veteran who served in Iraq. He had prior arrests for burglary and also for operating while intoxicated.
Wow.
CBS News did briefly speak with the gunman's father, who says he's not doing well.
Jordan, thank you.
He's not doing well. Your son, who was military trained, whose whole thing was to protect our country, decided to wage war on innocent people at church. And why? We'll never know why, because I believe he's dead now. And the worst part about this is that they're attacking their own. I don't want them to attack anybody, but the fact that they're attacking their own, and there are some people going, look, it's the liberals. It's all liberals attacking innocent conservatives, when that is not the case. And no matter how many facts we put out there to show that these are people that are like you, that worship the ground that Orange Turd walked on, there are still some people that put their hands in their ear and want to scream and yell that, nope, it's the liberals. It's got to be. They're attacking us, and we're just sitting there minding our own business like, huh? Since when? Since when? But you got these people, they don't care about facts. Facts don't mesh with their fiction narratives. Facts don't allow them to constantly and relentlessly attack people who don't look, act, worship, or have the same orientation as them. It is frustrating, but it is also scary how many people are willing to give in to these lies. And before we get any further, I just wanted to show a week in 3D printing. We had a very fun week. We successfully printed and painted. Let me move Chopper out of the way for a moment here. Funshine Bear. This was one of Greg's requests. Share Bear. We did the old school one with the shareable milkshake because I know they got with the times. They said, oh, people don't do stuff like that anymore. But we grew up with the 80s Care Bears, and she had a milkshake that was shareable on her tummy. So we went with that for Share Bear. We also printed this little guy for a friend. He popularly requested Mini Moose from Invader Zim. We're going to surprise another one of Greg's co-workers with a Jake the dog. Painted him just this morning because it didn't take long. And then we've got plenty of stuff to print, including my favorite, Grumpy Bear. And I love it because the 3D print actually got the outline of their tummy markings perfectly. And then some of them, like the Care Bear cousins I plan on printing out, have all the markings. So Tribo Studios has been amazing. They emailed me the other day requesting me considering their affiliate program. And I'm going to seriously give it a thought because I do use their studios for my 3D printing needs. So I'm really excited to potentially have an affiliate status with Triple Studios. It's just an offer. Nothing's in the writing yet. But if I am, I will definitely give them all the praise because they have helped me really achieve my 3D printing needs. And I will have a lot of stuff to paint for this cast and beyond. I am looking forward to Halloween. I have so many cute ornament designs, including 3D printed jack-o'-lanterns and so many other fun things. Uh-oh. Drop Chopper right on his side. Get some of his hands done. And we'll have to touch up certain things. This is just the first coat. What I liked about this beige filament is that it is really easy to print. That Share Bear that I just showed you was done on it, and it came out really nice. But getting back to the topic, because as much as I love painting and talking about anime and TV shows that I watch, we are in serious times. And it can be really hard when you know that your country is not doing well. And so many people want to play dumb and say everything's going to be okay. And they'll be the first to be like, well, I don't understand why we're being rounded up, Tim. You warned us, but we didn't think it was true. And I'm going to bring a new favorite of mine, Texas Ron, to explain once again what's been going on, because we have a really huge story with not only a president sending National Guard troops into areas like Portland and Chicago, but they had a general meeting with the top brass of the military, and none of these results are going to be good for us. But let's get Mr. Cowboy fired up so that you can hear from his own words what's going on.
Well, this is why. So, Texas Paul, hope your coffee's as good as mine. Hell, I hope it's better. I really do. I hope you're having a good day. I hope you're having a nice cup of coffee and a good day. This is why. This is why he's going after Portland, because he can remember Portland. Trump is in severe cognitive decline, and he can't deal with anything that's contemporary. He can't. Go back and look at that speech from the UN. He can't talk about anything that is current. It's got to be stuff from way back. This is part of mental decline, folks. The aggression, the lashing out, the only being able to remember things from years ago that are long-term memory, that's all part of this cognitive decline. Again, ask anybody in the comments that has had a parent or anything go through.
My grandmother went through that. She went through it. There were times where she was okay. There were more times than not she wasn't. And she would get angry at any thought of being contradicted because her mind was made up about certain things. You couldn't tell her it wasn't the early 1930s back in the day. You couldn't tell her that she wasn't a little girl who was just looking for her mama some days. It's hard to see somebody like that under any circumstances. I can't stand the crumb bum. I have made it clear I am not a fan of him. But the fact that he's being exploited should shock no one. These are literally the party that trotted out Herschel Walker's CTE ass like a living cabbage to try to win the Senate in Georgia, and was shocked that people did not want to elect somebody who went on a tirade about trees. But here we are.
Through this, they understand the aggression, they understand the agitation, they understand the being able to talk about somebody that would, one of their kids from high school when their kids are in 30 years old. It's all just part of it. It's all just part of it. But folks, it was on really dangerous display the other day at the UN. It just was. He talks about these 7 wars and we went through all that there weren't 7 wars. Hell, the Egypt conflict he talks about is a water dispute between Egypt, Sudan, and Ethiopia. There's no war.
Yeah.
There's just a dispute over water rights in the dam, from a dam in Ethiopia on the Blue Nile. But he can't talk about that. Hell, the last time he tried to talk about that without a list to read from, he talked about the Cambodia-Armenia conflict, which is a surprise to everybody in Cambodia and Armenia. They had no idea they had been at war.
Nope. It's ridiculous.
Go back and watch Jimmy Carter. Go back and watch Jimmy Carter talk about the Camp David Accords and the peace to be brokered between Menachem Begin and Anwar Sadat, Egypt and Israel. Even in his later years, he could speak in detail about conversations that he had with both men, about details from that negotiation, things that happened. Trump can't talk about lunch from yesterday. You would remember if you brokered peace between 2 nations.
Yep.
You would remember that to the day you died. It would be in your heart. Trump is gone. They are weakening and burning this guy all over the place, and they don't really care because Trump's never really run everything in this government. It's always been individuals like Howard Nutlick and Scott Bessent and Tom Homan and Stephen Miller and those guys all doing their own thing out there. They like the aggression. It feeds their base. Why is Trump going off?
That was the first one by Texas Paul, and it's true. Trump is nothing but a puppet. He always was a puppet. Hillary Clinton called him a puppet in their first debate. Got him upset, but not enough to prove us wrong. He literally puppets whatever he's told, even if it's wrong. Remember, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. But to get to this military thing, because it is serious. And it's not just, let me bring this up too, because Portland had a response to this ridiculousness, and I want you to hear from their own mayor how they feel about this incursion. And this is from the BBC, but we're going to play this really quick.
America is changing.
And the global order with it. As our world transforms, we're here to make sense of it on The Global Story.
The BBC's essential daily podcast bringing clarity in a time of change. I'm Asma Khalid in Washington, D.C.
I'm Tristan Redmond in London. And each weekday, we help you understand where the world and America meet, one story at a time.
This is The Global Story. Listen on BBC.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
I believe the president does not have the authority to deploy federal troops on state soil. I'm coordinating with Attorney General Dan Rayfield to see if any response is necessary, and we will be prepared to respond if we have to. Oregon has not requested any federal assistance, and nor do we need it. President Trump's inconceivable insistence that we need federal troops in Portland does not address the real concerns in our communities.
Nope.
Any federal takeover with military troops in our state is a threat to communities across Oregon.
And that should tell you that people don't want this. People didn't ask for this. And no sitting president should be behaving like this. But some people want to say it's fine. We're going to be okay. And I say once again, no. We're not going to be okay. It is not fine. And if you feel this way, do not let anybody try to gaslight you into believing that, oh no, you're just being hyperbolic. It'll be fine. It's not okay. He is literally skirting the rules of law and doing what he wants, including prosecuting James Comey, which if you watch my old Bond Chronicles, you know I don't have any love lost for. But even I think what he's going through currently is too much. But this is what you have when you have a literal dictatorship. And there are too many people that want to ignore the realities of that. But let me get Texas Paul loaded up here again so that you can hear about this Pete Hegseth's nonsense.
Pete Hegseth's speech to the military leadership, and it was everything I feared it would be. So, Texas Paul, hope your coffee's as good as mine. Hell, I hope it's better. Again, don't panic. I'm not panicked. You don't panic. What he said was exactly what I feared.
Yeah, before I let him get started and finish, the whole don't panic thing is easy to say. I don't want people being stupid. I really do feel like, even though we didn't pass out memos for it, a lot more people like me are in protect our peace mode simply because it is a dangerous climate. But I hope that he is talking to a demographic that thinks pew pew bang bang and shooting up things, civil unrest with violence is the only answer to this. To chill the fuck out and let cooler heads prevail. But, who knows?
That we would be now having a white nationalist and misogynist agenda in our military. And that they would be culling senior leadership. We always had that.
It's just louder now.
Pete Hegseth didn't say they would be culling senior leadership. He said they could resign if they want to. But Donald Trump, who has no control anymore due to his mental decline, he said the quiet part out loud on his way to the meeting. He said he would be meeting with generals and firing the ones he doesn't like. So, yeah.
Yeah. And you realize how dangerous that is? The military does follow the president. The president is the commander-in-chief under normal circumstances. But the military's main job is to protect every American citizen. Not just the ones that the president deems okay, while the ones he deems enemies are left on our own. It is scary that people are not taking this seriously, and that he is openly saying he is going to fire generals who have been loyal to this country, putting country first over everything else because they don't align with his white nationalist and misogynistic leans. It is scary.
Don't panic. There's no need. It's over. They're going to do what they're going to do. The sun has still come up. Your children still need to get to school.
Yeah, but they could get shot up.
There is time to deal with this. And we will deal with this.
Some people still ain't taking this serious.
The worst thing that you could possibly do is to become violent.
I agree.
Remember, every protest that we have, protesting is good, but every protest we have is an opportunity for the white supremacists to do what they did in the last protests, which were false flags. You know, we had the old boy here from Texas that went up to Minneapolis and shot up the police station in the middle of the George Floyd protest. They will do stuff like that, folks. This is a white nationalist move. They're going to support it. So we have to be careful. No violence, because this time next year, this is not what our country's going to look like.
Nope.
We're going to have a lot of battles between now and the midterm elections. We are. And we're going to have to fight them smart. Don't panic. We're going to be okay. A country of 330 million people that don't want to be governed this way can't be governed this way. We will take each challenge as it comes, and we will defeat it.
I hope so.
We will. But this is the new reality. Republicans have shot their shot. They've taken their masks off. We are now a white nationalist nation.
The thing I don't agree with him saying that is they're taking their mask off. And it might seem that way to him and others that can close their eyes to stuff like this. But this is how this party has been for a very long time. People want to bring up, well, Lincoln freed the slaves. That was in the fucking 1800s. Don't come at me with something from the 1800s to prove that the Republicans had a decent body at one point. The Southern strategy that happened in the 60s showed a lot of us who the Republicans really are, what they fucking stand for. These are the same motherfuckers who in one breath say they love America, but in another have to acknowledge that we are now moving towards 1930s Germany. It is insane to me that they can pretend like this is what America needs and what's good for us. And I'm not talking about the card-carrying loyals of Trump. I'm talking about all these people who are sitting there now trying to be like, well, I didn't sign up for this, but I'm too afraid to speak out because he's literally prosecuting enemies. We have a bunch of pussies in our Congress that we need to vote out so that fascism doesn't completely collapse our country.
Our government defines that, but we don't have to be a white nationalist people.
No, we don't.
We are who we are.
But you notice that is a certain
group's problem. I'm not going to surrender in advance by saying things like, oh, they're not going to let us vote. I'm not asking.
I'm voting.
I'm voting.
Yep.
Well, we've seen...
That was that. Because they do. They want to take away our rights to vote. They want us to kowtow to all of this. Now, let me bring this video up because I really want to drive home just how serious it's gotten. And why people need to take things like this massive military meeting very seriously. So let's
the world's most powerful military, a meeting with no modern precedent. Admirals and generals expected to have traveled in from as far away as Japan and the Middle East, abruptly summoned by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth last week.
And I think it's great. Let him be.
The idiot who literally leaked confidential stuff to a reporter on Signal, which is unsecured. But this is who's leading our country into ruin.
Friendly. Let him be friendly with the generals and admirals from all over the world. The president of peace. It's good to get along.
In a weekend phone interview with NBC News, President Trump, who will address the leaders this morning, framed it as a, quote, very nice meeting talking about how well we're doing militarily. But the exact reason for the massive event remains unclear. One officer telling NBC News there were no details in the message they received to come, no amplifying information. Top Democrats are demanding more details, writing Hegseth in part, this abrupt time and resource-intensive meeting is absurd.
If it's for something good, you're not going to hear me complain, but we don't, right now, we do not know.
And there shouldn't be secret meetings like this. I'm going to say it point blank. The world already has enough conflicts going on with the Ukraine, with what's going on in Syria and other countries that are experiencing civil unrest. What's definitely being done to the Palestinians by Netanyahu, who had the nerve to visit here. And I saw it on social media, the weak-ass protests that some people who had all kinds of words for VP Harris at her book signing, weak as water protests for Netanyahu, a literal war criminal's visit to our White House. It's funny, these character actors. They were okay with genocide because they thought, oh, we'll be safe from it. And now you see, even though it looks like the cognitive decline doofus is saying that, we got to get tougher on the war crimes against the Gazans, he and Netanyahu have understanding. And Netanyahu has said, I watched it on last night, that he can push the U.S. and they will cave to his demands. Whether that demand costs thousands, if not millions, of innocent lives, including the lives of children. We are in messy-ass times and we did not have to be here.
Since taking over the Pentagon, Hegseth has focused on reshaping military culture by installing what he calls a warrior ethos.
We don't need that. As a child of military parents, as a granddaughter of men who fought in wars, as a daughter of a Navy veteran who fought in war, the fact that you said we need a warrior, you can't get more warrior than our national service. Whether it's the Army, Navy, Marines, National Guard, these are men and women and non-binary soldiers who train to protect and serve our entire nation. And the fact that this bumbling idiot who shouldn't have got confirmed in the first place can bring his macho meathead bullshit into our military is disheartening.
It starts and ends with warriors in training and on the battlefield. We are leaving wokeness and weakness behind.
Fuck you. You're leaving wokeness behind? You mean the decency of recognizing fellow citizens and letting them live is too much for our military who's supposed to protect all the citizens? You're weak.
Still, today's gathering comes after months of high-profile firings of senior officers with limited explanation, including the Joint Chiefs Chairman, the president's rebranding of the Defense Department as the Department of War, and his deployment of National Guard and active duty.
We went from the Department of Defense to the Department of War because they aren't even hiding what they want to do with our country. They're not. War to them is profitable. The casualties of war are just collateral damage. But the firing the generals is just like what Adolf Hitler did back in the 1930s. He literally had a general who was openly, it wasn't a secret, gay. The man was so loyal to Hitler that you wouldn't believe it, given the fact that the Nazis always had open hatred of homosexuality. But this man was just Hitler loyal. He thought, well, I am still a macho, machismo-full man. The Führer will accept me, and he ended up dead. So if you are openly LGBTQ+, and you're co-signing on this bullshit right now, I want you to remember that when they're placing you in Trump internment camps. I want you to remember that this could have been avoided because your lifestyle will never be accepted by these bigots. Point blank, period.
troops to cities governed by Democrats. All of it raising the stakes for today.
I said this 3 casts ago that was their plan. Any state governed by Democrats are going to have these fools coming in and bothering and harassing people. And that should not be allowed. I don't care where you fall on the political spectrum. If a sitting Democrat even remotely hinted or did something like this, you'd have their heads. You would not only try to impeach them, there would be literal fucking riots in the street. And that's what you want from those of us who understand that if we do that, martial law, gunning us down, will be what we get rewarded with. So it is very frustrating to me right now, the stalemate that some of us feel trapped in. And I fear that they are going to find that button they can push that pushes us over the edge. And while it will be justified for us to finally get that angry, it plays into their hands. So it is a dangerous time, for real.
Today's unusual session.
This is an opportunity to hear from the ground, right? From the men and women who are actually commanding on the ground. If the leaders choose to go in a different direction, I think it'll be a missed opportunity.
Ridiculous.
We're told that the Pentagon says that the discussion will include a variety of topics, including what Hegseth views as the accomplishments under his leadership. But one more contentious issue that is likely to come up today, the coming national defense strategy that would prioritize homeland defense over other threats from places like Russia.
We don't need homeland defense. Each state has its own police force. We have laws by state to state. There's absolutely no reason for this at all.
Russia, China, and Iran. Back to you, Savannah.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to watch
the countries that they want us to emulate? Russia, China, and Iran? But we're supposed to be the United States of America. I can't with this. I cannot. Because people they still refuse to see the irony in a fucking sitting president wanting us to be like non-American countries that have notorious regimes. Ridiculous. Now let's get to this fucker, because he is the guy who shot up these detention centers in Texas, which is once again trying to justify why this doofus and his staff want to send military presence into our states. And we have idiot simps like the Louisiana governor giving in and saying, oh, please, Mr. President, I'll suck your tiny mushroom to just send troops so that we can show how strong we are. It's sickening. But this is what happened in Texas. This ICE detainee, 29-year-old MAGA martyr, who did this. Let's play this right
Investigators do tell us that it was 29-year-old Joshua Yawn who took his own life after last week's shooting. He was the shooter. The FBI says that he, in fact, used apps to try to gather data on the location of ICE agents. And those ICE tracking apps are tonight still in the spotlight.
Now there are questions popping up about what these apps do, who's behind them, and why ICE says they are a risk to law enforcement. I-Team reporter Brian New taking a closer look for us tonight.
They're not using law enforcement only, though. That's the thing. ICE is saying, oh, they're a risk to law enforcement. It's your people using those shits. And the fact is, it's not just law enforcement that can be ICE agents. They've already said they can deputize willing militia people to be ICE agents. It is fucking scary, and that's why so many of them remain masked. If you're a proud ICE agent just trying to clean up the rebel, why hide? You know why. Because you know what you're doing is wrong. You know what you're doing is human rights violations. You just don't care.
As immigration enforcement has increased, a wave of new apps have emerged designed to alert users when ICE agents may be nearby. Most rely on crowdsourcing, similar to how apps like Waze notify drivers about traffic stops. One of the most popular, with more than 1 million users, is ICE Block, developed by Austin-based tech entrepreneur Joshua Aaron.
This is simply, I saw something in public, and I'm alerting other users that I saw something so that they can avoid that confrontation. And the idea is it serves as an early warning system so they can turn left, turn around, go home, avoid the situation, avoid confrontation, and keep themselves and their families safe.
Aaron says the app's intended purpose is to help users steer clear of enforcement zones.
And while that's all well and good, and I see that maybe his heart was in a good place with that, it is literally being used by dangerous people now. It is literally a non-win situation for us, because as much as you want these apps to help people, there are bad people like this shooter who got their hands on it. The best way to fight fascism and tyranny is to never let it get in power in the first place. I will never stop saying that.
Not to disrupt operations, but federal officials are raising alarms, especially after last week's deadly ambush at a Dallas ICE facility.
It's a casting call to invite bad actors to attack law enforcement officers. It's no different than giving a hitman the location of their intended target, and this is exactly what we saw happen in Dallas.
At a news conference last week, federal officials said the Dallas shooter had used an ICE tracking app, though they stopped short of saying whether it played a role in planning the attack.
Of course they did.
Officials
if he had been a liberal, they would have said, oh, yeah, it totally did that. Because they don't want to say, hey, these bad character actors are using that. So, no, they won't say, oh, this played a definitive role in that. Because they want to talk out the sides of their faces. And they want to convince everybody that liberals are just out of our minds and we're going to attack people. Sir, ma'am, I've been in my home painting models and working. I don't have time, energy, or anything else to be fighting no fucking culture war with a bunch of culture vultures who love some of our stuff but want to fucking downplay and destroy everything else. Y'all could fuck right off with your BS. Because that's what it is. It's BS.
Been warning about these apps for months, calling them a threat to officer safety.
We truly wish we didn't have to say, I told you so. But here we are.
If you understand how ICE Block works, it's ludicrous to think it had anything to do with finding the location of ICE agents. He attacked an ICE detention facility. We don't need to know from an app that police officers are at the police department.
Aaron says he believes linking apps like his to the shooting is politically motivated. Yeah. He says he has no plans to take it down.
These are our immigrant friends and neighbors. This country was founded by immigrants, and I aim to keep ICE Block up for as long as is necessary to protect these people.
ICE Block and similar apps remain available on the Apple App Store. ICE officials say both the creators as well as the distributors of these apps are well aware of the dangers.
My thing is, they say well aware of the dangers, and once again, love Apple. They are the people who are responsible for our new audiobook for Axiom. So, once again, people can put apps on their platform. It is up to people whether or not they want to use them. But the fact is, they want to walk back how dangerous these apps are when it came out the fact that this young man was not a radical leftist, like they keep trying to say, but one of their own. Now it's just like, well, there's still potential for somebody on the liberal side to do this. Are you kidding me? I'm not even going to go to what some people want to taunt. Well, it's because liberals are pussies. And obviously, you've never been in a pussy because it can give birth to a baby. They're actually tough. But the fact of the matter is, many of us knew it was going to be this bad. And a lot of us just don't want any part of this weirdo pseudo-culture war that you want to pull us into. We don't want to deal with your dangerous stuff. We have a lot to deal with on the front lines as it is with this looming government shutdown. And I'm going to play this really quick. It's a short soundbite to show what is going on with the current climate and if the federal shutdown will impact federal workers who are just going to become collateral damage in this power struggle over our government. So let's get this fired up.
We turn our attention to the drama in Washington, playing out right before our eyes as the government is set to shut down in less than 24 hours.
Yeah, and we know a shutdown could have far-reaching consequences for Americans coast to coast. The deadline to pass a spending plan is set for midnight tonight. Republicans are pushing for a short-term funding fix to keep the government running until November 20th. But Democrats are demanding a new bill reversing cuts to Medicaid and preventing health insurance premiums from rising. Exactly. Yesterday, President Trump sat down with top Democrats for the first time.
The government shuts down. It's because Republicans have decided to shut the government down and hurt the American people. And that's a point that we made loudly and clearly in that meeting.
So I think we're headed to a shutdown because the Democrats won't do the right thing.
There's a lot of finger pointing.
Rather than furloughs.
But I need to remind you all, the Republicans have the majority in the Congress, the House, and they have a 50-50 split still in our Senate. I do believe they lead, though, because 2 dropped off and became independent. So they literally have a lead in both the House and the Senate. They have our Supreme Court, and they have the presidency. So for fucking eyeliner, couch fucker, to say, oh, it's the Democrats is ridiculous. But this is their playbook. Blame everybody but themselves.
In the event of a shutdown, the Trump administration says it's considering mass firings, eliminating jobs with programs, quote, not consistent with the president's priorities.
This is ridiculous. So they want to fire people not consistent with the president's bigoted priorities. Let's get that right. Anybody who targets the vulnerable, anybody who harasses immigrants, whether they are here with the proper paperwork or not, whether they are here to help us temporarily or not, that's what he wants. He doesn't want to feed the hungry. He doesn't want to help the poor. He doesn't want to do anything that this idiot who literally signed Bibles and sold them, trying to portray himself as an actual Christian, which is hard for me to even say those words because we all know he's not. But this man tried so hard to convince this nation that he is America first and he is putting us last in everything. We are going to have an economic collapse, not just from his idiotic tariffs, but the fact that he keeps targeting, once again, our country's lifeblood. Immigrant families are the ones that do so much of our labor that keeps this country running. They set up the businesses that keep the small business sector strong. But we have a government right now that needed a scapegoat, and they were an easy target because so many people use bigotry as a low-hanging fruit. So many people will say in one breath, oh, I like going to Mexican restaurants. I like this, I like that. But then they go around and they do this idiocy. And they turn a blind eye to things like 7-year-olds being rounded up from school, to families being literally ripped apart again, to innocent people who made a difference in their communities and neighborhoods being treated like criminals simply because they immigrated here. And if you think these assholes are going to stop with just innocent immigrants, if you think they're going to stop before they bring back things like reassignment camps, if you're LGBTQ+. And I don't say that to invoke anything but serious protecting yourself vibes. Because too many people are living in the idea that, oh, it won't be that bad. But if you think that targeting immigrants won't lead to them coming after you next, I got a bridge in Brooklyn that I can sell you fairly cheap. Because you're going to need a new home when they start governmentally enforcing, taking your property away because this doofus deemed you an enemy. And our military, who is going to be edged out of rational thinking leaders for Trump sycophants, helps him enforce that. It is dangerous times. And the fact that I even have to say stuff like this to people who want to believe that it's not is what's wrong with our country currently. There are way too many people that want to play stupid games and don't expect to get the stupid prizes in return. And it is so dangerous, unnecessarily dangerous, to ignore all the warning signs of fascism. But here we are. And everybody is like, well, we don't know what to do. And nothing's going to change. It won't change if that's your attitude. It can't change if that's your attitude. Too many people want to whine about stuff, but don't want to vote. Don't want to act like their lives and so many other people's lives depend on this. And it's scary, unnecessarily scary time for so many of us. Because if you ever felt that respecting people's rights to live, if you ever felt that being openly yourself without having to worry about being rounded up is in danger, It's not hyperbole or paranoia. It's what's currently going on. And they have not been slow about this because he has been wanting revenge since 2020 when we handed him that big loss to Joe Biden. And now he is taking his tantrums out along with his craven staff who want to use him to push their agenda on American citizens. And it's scary how many of you will turn a blind eye to this and tell me things like, no, it's fine. It'll be fine. It is not fine. The parallels to America X or Planet X, whatever they're calling it in PeaceMaker, is fucking clear. We have a nation of sick people who think that this world would be better off without people of color, without especially black people, and without the LGBTQ+. They want women as broodmares, baby incubators, fuckable meat bags. They don't care how dangerous it is. They're literally telling us to suck it up during pain and fever. Take ibuprofen, it's ibuprofen, which is very dangerous for pregnant women to take. It affects the umbilical cord. It could cause fetal damage. But you got assholes like Nancy Mace. Well, I used to watch her shit when I was watching regular news programs. Not no more, thank God. Going on programs and saying, well, women should just take ibuprofen instead. When it's been proven by Tylenol and other researchers that this presidency's unfounded claims that Tylenol and acetaminophen cause autism has not been verified, proven, or could even be replicated in studies. But we are living in an age of not only misinformation, but dangerous devotion to fascism. To the point where they are trying to criminalize an ideology that wants to end fascism while uploading and literally uplifting white supremacy and white nationalism. And if you're a white person saying, well, what's wrong with that? We've always been in charge. You should just let us do stuff. Eventually, when you get rid of enough of us, whether we flee, whether we're exterminated, whether we're shipped off to places to be political prisoners, when there are only you left, they're still going to need scapegoats. They're still going to need people that they can say, look at this group. This group is the cause of all your ills now. And you know what that's going to be? All you poor motherfuckers. All you people like that Marine that decided to throw everything away. Ignore the pictures of him hugging his child. A child who is never going to see their father again. He wants all of you poor ass doofuses to step up next as the target of their regime. Because Trump doesn't just hate minorities and immigrants and women. He hates poor people even more. So all of yous wannabe displaced millionaires, all of yous who think that when he makes America great again, you're going to have fat checkbooks and other dumb bullshit like that, I want you to remember that poem, and then they came for, because he will most definitely come for all of you. And I'm definitely going to be back on Friday night. I feel like this was cathartic, just painting Chopper. So far, I'm liking the way he's coming out. I'm also glad that I'm able to vent because this is so frustrating. It was unnecessarily frustrating. And it is only going to get worse before it gets better. And we need everybody who sees this bullshit for what it is to not just stand up, but to also be ready to defend and protect ourselves. Because we are no longer a nation that has a defense force. We have a national war force now, which is insane to me. It should be insane to anybody, military or not, that we are literally living in a country where they can openly say, hey, we're now the Department of War, and we're now going to fire any generals that don't fall in line with that agenda. But I will be back on Friday. Thank you all so much for watching. This will be uploaded to YouTube tomorrow. I'm going to start finishing up chopping. I'm getting the cotton candy done now. And I will show you the finished product on Friday afternoon. And it's like I said, schedule may change soon, and I might have to go back to evenings, but it all depends. Right now, these afternoon paint with me, Tuesdays or Fridays, 3 to 4 work best. I'm going to get ready to go, prep dinner, get the cats fed, get my house taken care of. I hope you have a great day, great rest of your week, and I will see you Friday afternoon. Take care.